Hey guys, and welcome to the first video on the channel where today I decided that I would go over the 2019 to 2020 NFL season on the NFL Playoff Predictor to go through the season and decide what I think will happen, who will win games in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and so on. I plan to do this not only just now, but also in the future at certain points throughout the season and one or two more before the season starts. But for today, I wanted to go over my way too early predictions for what will happen this season. So let's just get started with it with week 1. Titans versus Browns. The Titans are a pretty good team. Their defense isn't the best. Their offense is kind of mediocre. I can see the Browns winning this one. Ravens versus Dolphins. I think that the Ravens offense will pretty much bulldoze the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins offense isn't the best. I'm going to give that one to the Ravens. Chiefs blow up the Jaguars defense. Bills versus Jets is a tough one. As a Bills fan, I have to try not to be biased here, but I still think we'll get it done against the Jets on the road or at home this early on for sure. Colts versus Chargers. The Colts looking a lot more promising than they did a year ago. The Chargers looking great as they have been for a little while now. I'm going to give this one to the Chargers. Steelers versus Patriots. The Steelers did okay last season. The Patriots, of course, winning the Super Bowl. This win goes to the Patriots over the Steelers, who have lost both Le'Veon Bell, who didn't really play anyway, so he's not a big factor to lose, but Antonio Brown, who was a big player for the entire season last year. So now we move on to Broncos versus the Raiders. The Broncos are a team that I expect to do very, very poorly this coming up season. I can't be 100% sure that that's what will happen, but as of right now, they seem like one of the lesser teams, like the Bengals, who we're going to talk about next. The Raiders are a team that I really think could do many things. They could do good. I don't think they'll get too good. Definitely, probably not make the playoffs. And I don't think they're going to do terrible. I'd say at least 5 or 6 wins this year, somewhere around that ballpark. So I'm going to give this one against the Broncos to the Raiders. Bengals versus Seahawks. The Bengals are replacing the Browns in my mind as the laughingstock of the NFL, and the Seahawks have a stellar defense. I think that the Seahawks, with a defense that's not as good as it was before, but you're playing against the Bengals. You can win with pretty much any defense in the NFL. Seahawks get the win here. Texans versus Saints is a game that I think could go either way. A lot of people probably think that Texans aren't that good, but I've always felt like the Texans are kind of underrated and that they're a pretty great team. And the Saints are a pretty great team too, seeing as how far they got last year. Should have really made the Super Bowl without that no call. But I'm going to give this win in week 1 to the Texans. Packers versus Bears. Packers definitely seem to be waning a little bit of recent. So I think that the Bears, with their defense and okay offense, will be able to get this win at home over the Packers. Redskins versus Eagles. Eagles have done okay this last year, really good 2 years ago. I think the Eagles will have a pretty mediocre to low season this year, but I think the Redskins will too, with newcomer Dwayne Haskins playing at quarterback. But I think that this year, in week 1, the win will go to the Eagles. Rams versus Panthers. Both pretty decent teams. Panthers probably don't have as great of an offense to me as the Rams do in any aspect. The Rams defense, I didn't pay too much attention to the Rams or the Panthers last year, but I feel like the Rams defense did a pretty good job of keeping people down, and the Panthers did an okay job as of what I've seen. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to give it as a road win to the Rams. Falcons versus Vikings. Falcons are a team that have an offense that really should be better than it has been recently, and a defense that should do a little better this year, I think, than it did last year. The Vikings are a team that I don't expect very much out of at all this year, and I don't think they're going to be anywhere near what they were in the past. Maybe last year might be a little closer to what I expect from them. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I'm not 100% sure there. But I'll give this one to the Falcons. So next is 49ers versus Buccaneers. Both teams that I have as kind of lower teams on my tier list. The Buccaneers have had a very inconsistent offense, especially showing last year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. 49ers, I think, have a good enough defense to keep the Buccaneers down on a good day, let alone a bad day. I'll give this one to the 49ers. Lions versus Cardinals. Cardinals not really that good. They did get a great quarterback to play to throw to Larry Fitzgerald, but other than that, there's not too much to work with on the Cardinals offense that I know as big names. The defense has a few big names that are pretty great players. The Lions are a decent team, but I don't really see them doing the most amazing. But I think early on they might have some success. The Lions win it here. Giants versus Cowboys. Cowboys had a very underwhelming season last year. Giants, of course, being the Giants last year, did much worse. I'm going to say that trend will continue for these two teams, and that the Cowboys will beat the Giants this week. Now moving on to Week 2. Week 2, the Patriots play the Dolphins. Now, you're not going to like this, but I'm going to choose the Dolphins here. Of course, the reason you won't like it is either you're a Patriots fan or you want realism. You're going to like it if you're a Dolphins fan or you just absolutely hate the Patriots. But the reason that I chose this is that it always seems like the Dolphins or the Jets or the Bills, one of them always has a huge upset at home against the Patriots. It's usually pretty early on. And it seems to be the Dolphins more often than not see last year's upset over the Patriots. So I think the Dolphins get it done again against the Patriots this year, but don't expect the Dolphins to do much more than this. Jaguars versus Texans. The Texans, again, have been a little underrated in my mind. The Jaguars have a very, very inconsistent quarterback and offense in general, but now they have Nick Foles to sit at the center of that. I think he'll be a little better than, well, maybe, definitely not a little better. I should say a lot better in the Jaguars situation than the Jaguars were last year with Blake Bortles. But I still think that Deshaun Watson and the Texans will take this win. Colts versus Titans. The Colts are another team that I could see doing a pretty good job this year. And the Titans, with Marcus Mariota, I feel are kind of base level on offense. They're not low tier, they're not high tier, they're just kind of the baseline of an NFL offense. So I'm going to give this win to the Colts. Chiefs versus Raiders. I think that despite the fact that this will probably not happen and will definitely trigger some people, I can see the Raiders early on in Week 2 upsetting the Chiefs. But I can tell you this, later in the season, the Chiefs will win against the Raiders. The Raiders will not win against the Chiefs again, but I think they will upset the Chiefs in one of the two games that they play against them this season. Next game, Browns versus Jets. The Browns, one of the up-and-coming teams. Everyone expects them to do well. Every Browns fan expects them to do very well. They're thinking, 12-4, 12-4. I'm thinking, okay, maybe the Browns have got something going on here, but maybe they don't. You don't really know. I've seen a lot of people posting them at 8-8, 9-7 around that area, which seems a bit more realistic with a pretty unproven roster when it's all put together. But they're playing the Jets. There's not much to put together against the Jets that you really need to win. So I'm going to give this win to the Browns. 49ers versus Bengals. Again, Bengals pretty much becoming the laughing stock. However, I think that they will get this win in week 2 as their first win of the season, one of very few over the 49ers. Bills versus Giants. Bills already doing a decent job so far in my mind. Sean McDermott is great at head coach. Again, I'm a Bills fan. I have to try not to be biased. But against the Giants, with Saquon Barkley really being the only big thing on their offense, and the Bills with their defense pretty stellar to make us that Saquon Barkley, according to what happened last season, would really be the only big threat. And with Ed Oliver now sitting at defensive tackle, I think the Bills can handle the Giants' offense very well. And the Giants' defense, it barely exists. This win goes to the Bills. Chargers versus Lions. Again, Chargers very good. Lions also pretty good. But I don't think Matt Patricia has prepared his team quite enough to play against the Chargers, and that the Chargers get the win. Cardinals versus Ravens. The Ravens playing against the Cardinals. I think this game could almost go either way, but I think that there's definitely an advantage involved where the Ravens beat the Cardinals due to a more unproven offense that they're building with the Cardinals with a new quarterback into the system. Of course, the Ravens have a new quarterback as well, but he's played a season. He knows how the NFL works a little bit, knows it a lot more than he would have as a rookie. He's a very athletic guy, not that Kyler Murray isn't, but very athletic. I think the Ravens will win this game. Seahawks versus the Steelers. The Steelers have Juju Smith-Schuster to throw to on offense. James Conner at running back, still very good. Seahawks defense kind of waning, kind of going down. Their offense kind of okay, not really the best, maybe a little tiny bit above or below average. I don't think it's average. You can think of it as you will. The Steelers get the win against the Seahawks. Bears versus Broncos. Broncos, again, one of the teams I really don't expect anything out of. And the Bears, I expect a lot out of their defense, though not too much out of their offense. Hopefully their kicking is better this year to help get these wins. They beat the Broncos. Buccaneers versus Panthers. First division matchup for the two. I could see the Buccaneers beating the Panthers, but with the Panthers at home, I'm going to give them the win. Vikings versus Packers. Two teams that I don't see doing too well this year. Is always a game that is interesting to say the least. Last year they had the tie. Always very interesting to watch anyway. I'm going to give this one to the Packers because the Packers have a more proven, definitely a more proven quarterback as a big-time starter, a pretty good wide receiver core and running back. Defense might be a bit of an issue, but the Vikings also don't have the highest ranking or top defense in the NFL either. This one goes to the Packers. Cowboys versus Redskins. So the Cowboys offense against the Redskins defense, I don't really expect much out of the Redskins defense. I think the Cowboys offense will do a pretty good job against the Redskins. The Redskins offense and the Cowboys defense. Cowboys defense is pretty almost, I'd say, above average. So I think the Cowboys get it done against the Redskins. Saints versus Rams, a revenge game from the no call of the previous year. And I'm going to say, as unfortunate as it is for last year's Super Bowl players, for the Rams team, the Saints win this one against the Rams. Now, Eagles versus Falcons. Eagles with Carson Wentz at quarterback have potential, but from what I've seen, with an injury-prone, as far as I've seen, quarterback starting there on a team that Nick Foles has pretty much saved into the playoffs both of the last 2 years, they don't have a chance. And the Falcons with an offense that I think should really be better, like I said earlier. Falcons get this one against the Eagles. As we move on to Week 3. Week 3, Jaguars versus Titans. Both teams that I, again, don't really expect too much out of, but I think the Jaguars' defense can contain the Titans pretty well. Bills versus Bengals. Bills' defense, Bengals' offense isn't going to do too much to the Bills' defense. Might do a little bit of damage. Definitely going to score some touchdowns. But not enough damage, I don't think, to compare to the Bengals' defense, which is just the Bengals' defense. Bills win this one. Ravens versus Chiefs. As great as I can see the Ravens being and how amazing their defense was, it can't handle the Chiefs. Chiefs win this one at home. Jets versus Patriots. The Jets always put up a little bit of a fight against the Patriots. It's always a nice fight, just like it is when they play the Bills, but also like it is when they play the Bills. The opposing team never comes out on top. The Patriots will win. Next game, Texans versus Chargers. The Texans offense, I think, should do okay. As I've said before, the Chargers, as I've said before, are a very good team. I had them last year as my pick to win the Super Bowl, which you may doubt, you may hate, you may think that that's absolutely ludicrous, but it's what I had. And I think that they will beat the Texans here in Week 3. Falcons versus Colts. The Colts are a team that I could see doing pretty well. Falcons are as well. I can see the Colts winning this one, and I'll say the Colts win this one. Colts winning at home against the Falcons. Dolphins versus Cowboys. The Dolphins have a lot to prove this season with a new quarterback coming in and a new coaching staff coming in. They have a lot to prove, and they're not going to be able to prove it this week as the Cowboys come out on top. Despite the Dolphins besting the Patriots earlier, you can't expect too much of them to shine. Broncos versus Packers now, and I can see that the Broncos will compete against the Packers, but I don't think they'll be great, but I do think that they will find a way to upset the Packers to win on the road in Week 3. Raiders versus Vikings. Raiders a team, again, that I don't see too much out of. The Vikings a team that has a pretty good defense and an offense that should have been better last year, that had some issues on both sides of the ball sometimes. My personal favorite, not really issue, but just an impressive play made against them, was, of course, being a Bills fan, Josh Allen's hurdle. That's always nice to see. This win goes, no matter what, however, the Raiders still have much to prove. The Vikings win against AB and the Raiders. Steelers versus 49ers. 49ers, a fairly decent team, definitely an up-and-comer. Jimmy Garoppolo needs to stay healthy to really be a competitive team. That they struggled a lot last year, not being a competitive team after losing Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously falling way down in the rankings and way up in the draft order. The Steelers lost a really good wide receiver, but it's not enough to keep them down. Steelers beat the 49ers. Rams versus Browns. Tell you what, the Browns, they might do good, just like all you say. They know 12-4 might do what the other people say. The analytics that I've seen that have placed them at 8-8. But no matter which way you slice it, what you expect is what I think will happen in this game. The Rams go to Cleveland and they beat the Browns. Next game, Lions versus Eagles. A game between two people that I think will do okay, maybe a little bit above average, but I don't expect too much out of them. I'm going to say the Lions get the win over the Eagles. Giants versus Buccaneers. I think that a game between two bottom dwellers is always interesting. May not result in anything good or bad coming out of either team by the end of the season. But I think the Buccaneers have proven a little more with their offense than the Giants have. So I'm going to give them the win at home against the Giants. Panthers versus Cardinals. Again, the Cardinals, a team that is pretty new. The Panthers, a team that's been struggling a little bit as of recent. I will give this win to the Cardinals. Saints versus Seahawks. The Seahawks, I think their defense could still be pretty good, but the Saints offense can handle it. Saints win on the road against the Seahawks. Bears versus Redskins. A somewhat unproven Redskins defense with a new quarterback. Can't handle this Bears defense. Turnovers aplenty this year, catching them, recovering fumbles for the Bears defense. Bears win this game against the Redskins as we move on to Week 4. Patriots versus Bills. At this point, I believe I have the Bills on top in the division right now at 3-0, and the Patriots not too far behind. I think I have them at 2-1 right now. But, of course, seeing as how this goes every single year, the same exact way every year, that trend this year will not change. Patriots win. That might change next year. I might change that thought by, I don't know, after the preseason maybe, when I'm probably going to make another video before Week 1. Maybe I'll change my thoughts by then. As of right now, Patriots have definitely beaten my Bills. The first matchup that they have against each other. Raiders versus Colts is the next game. The Raiders, I think, with AB, will be able to do a pretty good job against the Colts. But I think the Colts will do just a little better to squeeze by the Raiders for a win. Chargers versus Dolphins is embarrassingly as you'd think this game would go against the Dolphins. I think they'll put up a fight, quite the fight that you wouldn't normally expect from a team like the Dolphins with so many new players, somewhat of a new setup. But it's not going to help them. Chargers win the game against the Dolphins. Browns versus Ravens. A game that I could really see going either way. But I'm going to give this win due to their pretty equal offenses. But there's such a big, evident gap at defense with the Ravens having the best defense last year. And I think they've not really changed too much on defense or offense over at the Ravens. The Browns have changed a ton since last year. Ravens come out on top. Jaguars versus Broncos. Broncos, again, a team I don't expect much out of. The Jaguars, a team that I expect to be mediocre. Jaguars' defense contains the Broncos. Bengals versus Steelers. Steelers play the Bengals twice every year, and twice every year it's a hard-fought game of rage and hatred. This year, as many years and most years it is as of late, the game of hatred between the Bengals and Steelers goes to the Steelers. Titans versus Falcons now. Titans right now a bottom feeder. Falcons up 6th seed in the NFC. Of course, normally for some teams like the AFC East, I can't see this, but the AFC and NFC North, I can see the stats of them. Only the Cowboys in the East, but anyway. So, Titans versus Falcons is a game that I could really see going either way, but I think the Titans get the upset here and will win on the road against the Falcons. Just a feeling that I have. Not much to really prove it'll happen, not much to prove it won't. Falcons seem to be susceptible to upsets quite frequently for a reason that is, of course, unknown to me. So we'll move on to the next game. Chiefs versus Lions. The Lions, a team that 2-1 right now, might seem pretty good. Oh, they're in the playoff run, they're in the 5th seed, yeah. But they're 2-1. It's only week 4, and they play the Chiefs. Well, no surprise here, the Chiefs beat the Lions. Next game, Panthers versus Texans, a pretty good game between two pretty good teams, especially on offense. The running game for the Panthers is there. The offense is there for the Texans. I see the Texans coming out on top on this one. Next game, Eagles versus Packers. The Packers with a much more proven quarterback who's a little less injury prone than the Eagles quarterback. An emphasis on a little. I think the Packers get the win against the Eagles at home. Redskins versus Giants. The Giants and Redskins, when they play against each other this year, I could really see those games going either way, with both teams having much to prove, but I think the Redskins have a better chance of winning these games. Redskins get the win against the Giants due to having what seems on paper to me like a much better team. Now next game, Seahawks versus Cardinals. The Cardinals, an up-and-coming team, tons of young players. The Seahawks, a team that's losing a few pieces here and there quite frequently the last few years. Seahawks are still in just enough shape to beat the Cardinals this week. As we move on to the next game, Rams versus Buccaneers. I kind of want to say that the Buccaneers will upset the Rams, but I think that might only be because when it's with the Buccaneers, for some reason I expect an upset against really good teams. Probably because of Ryan Fitzpatrick and his ability to do whatever he wants to as long as he is down by at least 3 touchdowns. But that's not going to happen here as the Rams beat the Buccaneers. Bears versus Vikings. Vikings, a team I think needs to do better, but they're not going to do that now. Bears go 4-0, shutting people down with their defense, as the Cowboys will go down against the Saints' offense, burning their defense. Week 5 is next. So here in Week 5, have a lot of AFC versus NFC games. So let's start off here with Ravens versus Steelers, a game that I could really see going pretty much either way. But I think that this time it's going to go to the Ravens, with an offense that I think is going to be better than the Steelers' offense this year, that's getting a little used to some things. Ben, definitely nowhere near as good as he was in the past. Next game, Bills versus Titans. Titans, a team I don't expect much out of. My team, the Bills, a team that I don't expect really to make the playoffs, but I expect to do a decent job. I think they get the win against the Titans in Week 5. Broncos versus Chargers. The Broncos have just that little spark that they always have against the Chargers, where you think they're going to win. Oh, the Broncos are going to beat the Chargers. They're going to upset them, and you know what? I'm on board with that. I always feel like the Broncos are going to beat the Chargers somehow. I think that's going to happen this week. 3 away wins so far. Will that trend continue this week? Colts versus Chiefs. They have a pretty good chance of continuing the trend. But the Chiefs' offense will shut down the Colts' defense. And the Chiefs' upgrading defense will be able to at least not stop, really, but keep it a little shorter for the Colts offense. Make it take a lot more time and a lot more work to get those touchdowns. Chiefs take the win. Cardinals versus Bengals. Bengals a team that I don't expect much out of. I expect them to do very poorly this year, but I don't think they will go with only one win. Bengals win this one against the Cardinals. Jets versus Eagles is a game that I think could be pretty interesting. Jets coming off their bye week. The Eagles, though, are looking to me like a pretty decent team that's not just going to lose to the Jets. Eagles get the win here. I'm going to take a break right here to tell you something really quick. If you hear other noises that aren't me, I would like to say, A, the fan is on my laptop. That might be causing some issues. Second of all, my cat seems to be very, very eager to come into my room. I'm not going to let her because she will actually probably be a little louder and meow more if she is in here. So, I don't know. I can't really do anything about it. So I guess you'll just have to deal with it. I'm sorry, that's all I can really do. Anyway, back to the video. Jaguars versus Panthers, a game that I could really see going only one way, and that's towards the Panthers. But I feel like I will get an upset against my own team that I expect to win the game, and the Jaguars will beat the Panthers. Bears versus Raiders. The Bears are great. They're 4-0. They're on a roll, but I think the Raiders will upset them in London because for some reason I feel like the Raiders always do pretty well in London games, and also because the Raiders seem to like enjoying upsetting teams like the Bears a lot. Next game. Patriots versus Redskins. The Redskins, a team that has much to prove, a new quarterback. And what is a new, possibly talented quarterback going to do against a quarterback like Tom Brady? Patriots get the win. Falcons versus Texans. The Texans 3-1, Falcons 2-2. Both teams playoff contenders. This week's game will go to. It's kind of hard to choose between the two teams, but I think the Texans will come out on top in this one over the Falcons. Next, the Browns versus the 49ers. The Browns, I think, aren't doing as great as some people would have hoped, only sitting at 2-2 right now, but don't fret, they're still going to win some more games, and that's proven here when they went on the road against the 49ers. Now we move on to the next game, Rams versus Seahawks, another game over in that division. The Seahawks, I think, will... I don't remember exactly if they played earlier, but if they did, I probably gave the win to the Rams. I think at home, the Seahawks will just barely be able to win by some crazy event that seems to happen at least once a year for them. They will win this game against the Rams. Vikings versus the Giants, both teams I don't expect too much out of, but I think that the Vikings are going to be able to handle the Giants' offense very well, and will get this win on the road. Now the next game, Buccaneers versus Saints. As much as I don't want to say it, I think the Buccaneers will get this upset over the Saints because the Buccaneers, I feel, always, maybe not always, but quite frequently seem to upset teams in their own division that are on top. And in this case, that's the Saints. And the Saints are a team that I feel like I could think about and see happening the Buccaneers beating the Saints and starting to bring them down a little bit. Next game, Packers versus Cowboys. Packers again, a team I don't expect too much out of. Cowboys doing a pretty good job so far in this simulation, but the Packers come out on top on Sunday Night Football as we move on to Week 6. Week 6's first game is Texans versus Chiefs. As much as I love the Chiefs and their offense and their defense is getting better, I think the Texans' offense and defense come out on top. Both pretty amazing and stellar teams, although many people might not think the Texans too highly or anywhere near as highly as I do. I think they come out on top. Next game, Bengals versus Ravens. Easy. Ravens come out on top. Don't even need to talk about it. Next game, Titans versus Broncos. I think that the Titans will be able to beat the Broncos. It's going to be a very close game. And also, just so you guys know, there is an option for a tie, this equal sign in the middle. Click on that, it gives you a tie. I am not assigning any ties just because they seem to happen so rarely that I feel like I should choose a winner, because you can't really predict a tie. It's just not something you do. You predict a win, you predict a loss. You don't predict ties unless you really have a feeling that these teams are so equal that they'll get a tie. I don't. Anyway, back to this. Steelers versus Chargers could be a close game. I think the Chargers come out on top. Giants versus Patriots. Patriots doing very well so far. Giants, being the Giants, will lose to a team known as the Patriots. In recent history, they have been known to, of course, lose to very good teams, as a team that isn't great would do. This isn't the Super Bowl, unfortunately, for the Giants. You're not going to get this win. Seahawks versus Browns. The Browns are now sitting at 3-2. The Seahawks getting a pretty decent season. Browns come out on top. The Seahawks defense can do nothing about Odell Beckham Jr. Just absolutely zooming by for a touchdown pass. Redskins versus Dolphins. Both teams with plenty to prove, but Dolphins are coming off their bye week, so they're going to sneak off with a win. Saints versus Jaguars. The Jaguars defense, I want to say, will stump the Saints, but I've got to think about it, and I have to say it will not. The Saints come out on top of the Jaguars on the road. Cowboys versus Jets. Cowboys, they're the Cowboys. They're okay. They are playing the Jets, who are the Jets. Cowboys get the win. Next game, London game, Panthers versus Buccaneers. This game, I think, will be a pretty good game where the Panthers will come out on top on the road in London. Eagles versus Vikings. Eagles doing okay. Vikings being the Vikings. I think the Vikings will just barely, by some way, I don't know what it will be, but I think that if Carson Wentz is still healthy here, he'll sneak off with a win. Next game, Falcons versus Cardinals. Cardinals, much to prove. Falcons should have been better, as I've said many times before. They're going to, in my mind, be better this year, and that is shown in their win against the Cardinals. 49ers versus Rams, Sunday Night Football, and here the 49ers will suddenly and randomly upset the Rams for no particular reason, because, well, that's kind of what they do. I mean, I see it time and time again. There's random teams like the 49ers. And it's usually teams like the 49ers, the Buccaneers, or the Dolphins that seem to beat the favorite, so to say, in their in divisions around the league. And especially in games like this, against super good teams, they seem to win. 49ers win this one on Sunday Night Football. Lions versus Packers. Packers doing pretty good at 3-2. Lions at 2-2. Both teams sitting in a wild card spot, but probably not for much longer, as the Lions will beat the Packers as they come off of their bye week, kicking the Packers, for now, out of the top 6 as we move on to week 7, which I just realized that there was a next button that I could have been using the entire time. It would have been nice to have noticed before. Anyway, right now I'm just going to go through these a lot faster because I don't want this video to be too long. Chiefs versus Broncos. Broncos aren't going to be able to handle the Chiefs. The Chiefs offense will smoke their defense. Chiefs win. Jangles. Jaguars versus Bengals, sorry. Will be an interesting game where I think the Jaguars defense comes out on top. Bills versus Dolphins. Bills coming off of their bye week get the win at home. Texans versus Colts. I'm going to say that the Colts coming off their bye week at home against another team in their division that they know very well will get the win. Chargers versus Titans. Titans a team that's not doing great. Chargers a team that's doing pretty well right now. 5-1. Chiefs are 5-2. Well, hate to break it to you, Chargers, but this week I expect the unexpected. Titans win. You guys will join the Chiefs at that record. Patriots versus Jets. Patriots are playing the Jets. Patriots come out on top. Raiders versus Packers. Raiders coming off of their bye week. Packers coming off of a Packers game where they are the Packers and playing the Raiders. Never seems to go well for teams like them for some reason. Not exactly sure why anyway. Gotta cut the shorter. Raiders win. Ravens versus Seahawks. Ravens offense smokes the Seahawks. Seahawks can't handle the defense. Ravens win. Rams versus Falcons. The Rams, the Super Bowl players of last season, will win this game. Cardinals come out on top of the Giants. The Vikings will lose to the Lions. The 49ers and Redskins in another tight, interesting game, which will be won by the 49ers due to the more experienced quarterback, if healthy at this part of the season. Saints versus Bears. The Bears are 4-1. The Saints are 4-2. But the Bears will knock the Saints down to 4-3 coming off of their resting period and, well, bye week. Eagles versus Cowboys. Eagles come out on top here. Why? Because they're the Eagles. They always seem to come out on top in crucial games against other players in their division, especially when it's the Cowboys for some reason. Probably because the Cowboys always seem to be on top, and the Eagles don't like that. Next week, week 8. Jets versus Jaguars. Jaguars defense stumps the Jets from anything happening. Raiders versus Texans. The Raiders do what the Raiders do and they will lose. Broncos versus Colts. The Colts will lose unexpectedly to the Broncos team that I think will pretty much win most of their games by upsetting other teams. Browns, everyone's like, the Browns are better than the Patriots and they're coming off of their bye week and they're on the road and it's Sunday Night Football. They're gonna be hyped. They're gonna be ready to win. Unfortunately for you, they will not. Patriots lose to the Browns. Dolphins versus Steelers. Another interesting game, but Steelers coming off their bye week. It's Monday Night Football. They're gonna get the win here. Chargers versus Bears. Chargers offense will just squeak past that Bears defense. Eagles versus Bills. I love the Bills, man, but playing against the Eagles, they might not be great. But when you play against a team that might not be great and you're the Bills, well, as much as I hate to say it being a Bills fan, you lose those games. If you're playing against a bad team, you might win. If you're playing against a good team, you're going to do pretty good. You're going to put up a fight. If you're playing against a mediocre team, you lose for some reason. It's just what we seem to do. Maybe we'll not do that this year. Who knows? Next game, Bengals versus Rams. Bengals laughingstock Rams Super Bowl players last year. Rams win in London. Buccaneers versus Titans. The Titans at 3-4. Buccaneers at 2-4. Both number 12 in their conferences. The Buccaneers, coming off a bye week, will win this game. Packers versus Chiefs. The Chiefs win Sunday Night Football. Redskins versus Vikings. The Vikings not doing the best, but they will win this game against the Redskins. Seahawks versus Falcons. Falcons offense will squeak by that Seahawks defense to win. Giants versus Lions. The Lions will come out on top of the Giants. Cardinals versus Saints. The Cardinals playing the Saints. I mean, do I have to say more? Saints win this game. Panthers coming off their bye week at pretty low despite starting out pretty well. But they're playing the 49ers. Coming off their bye week Sunday Night Football. Panthers come out on top. Week 9. Forgot about the next button again. Here we go. Texans versus Jaguars in London. Jaguars come out on top. Why? London game. The Jags love London, and they will get it done in London. Jets versus Dolphins. The Dolphins always seem to come out on top against the Jets for unknown reasons to me, and it will happen once again. Colts versus Steelers. The Colts, a team I can see doing pretty well. The Steelers, a team I can see fading a little bit this year. Colts get the win on the road. Browns versus Broncos. Browns will win. Patriots versus Ravens. Unpopular opinion, but Ravens are coming off their bye week. They're 6-1, top of their division, second in the conference. Sunday Night Football at home. Ravens win this game. Number 1 now in the AFC. AFC versus NFC games. Now Redskins versus Bills. The Bills will keep that new Redskins offense down on the ground. Vikings versus Chiefs. Chiefs come out on top. Titans versus Panthers. The Titans will lose. Lions versus Raiders. I think that the Raiders on Sunday Night Football would just barely lose to the Lions. Packers versus Chargers. Sunday Night Football. It's the Packers at Sunday night, and then on the road against the Chargers. They can do some damage here to a really good team, and I think they'll get that done here as they win the game on the road. 49ers versus Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. And I believe that the team that will win this game will be the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray would have proven himself by this point in the season. And Jimmy Garoppolo, from my experience, is probably injured. Next game, Bears versus Eagles. Bears defense shuts down that Eagles offense completely. Buccaneers versus Seahawks. The Buccaneers get an unexpected win. At least for me, it was unexpected. You guys might have expected me to give them a supposed upset, seeing as what I've talked about before. Cowboys coming off their bye week, Monday Night Football. They got to get that win against the Giants, and they will. Week 10. Missed the next button again. Chargers versus Raiders. The Chargers and Raiders always seem to have strange games. Not this time. Chargers win. Ravens, Bengals coming off their bye week, 2-6, raging and ready to get some points up on the board. By the way, if you heard a weird noise, a car just went by my house. Anyway, Ravens come out on top against the Bengals. Bills versus Browns. As much as I love my team, as much as I love the Bills, playing against the Browns, I really don't think we stand a chance. Browns come out on top. Chiefs versus Titans. Chiefs win. Dolphins versus Colts. Colts win. Giants versus Jets. The Giants will just barely come out on top. Rams versus Steelers. Rams will win. Now this one. Lions versus Bears. They are tied for their win-loss tie record. They are tied for their divisional record. And they are both playoff teams. So what happens here? The Bears will win against the Lions. Cardinals versus Buccaneers. I bet you know what I'm thinking. Buccaneers at home might win. And when I think that, I always think, but they'll lose. Cardinals will win this game against the Buccaneers. Panthers versus Packers. Panthers might not be the best right now, but boy, are they going to come out on top of the Packers in this one. I expect a pretty great game from the Panthers. Falcons versus Saints. They are both coming off of their bye week, so the Saints will stay on top of their division. Falcons go into last. Vikings versus Cowboys now. The Cowboys definitely ready to take on a low bottom dweller like the Vikings. At least that is what they are here in my simulation. Seahawks versus 49ers could be a very interesting game. Monday Night Football, I think the Seahawks will win as we head to week 11. Steelers versus Browns. Browns will win that game on Thursday Night Football. Jaguars beat the Colts coming off of their bye week. Bills will lose to the Dolphins with the Dolphins being at home because we can't win them all against division rivals, guys. I mean, we might beat the Jets the whole year. We're going to lose both Patriots games. Probably going to lose one Dolphins game. Texans versus Ravens. Texans coming off their bye week get the Ravens off guard. Ravens 8-2. Bengals versus Raiders Sunday night. Raiders win. Chiefs versus Chargers. With what I think of last year and what I think right now, I'm just thinking, man, those Chargers are great. But then I remembered that it is a Mexico game, and for some reason I think that because it is a game in Mexico, the Chiefs, who are used to worse weather, playing at a, from what we saw will happen last year, worse stadium, will come out on top. Jets versus Redskins. Redskins will squeak by after coming off of their bye week. Broncos versus Vikings. Broncos get an unexpected win, as I expected them to be bottom dwellers. Patriots, Eagles, both coming off their bye week. Super Bowl champs come out on top. Saints versus Buccaneers, and the Saints will stay on top. Cowboys versus Lions. Game will be won by the Cowboys. Falcons versus Panthers will go to the Panthers. Cardinals versus 49ers. Again, 49ers win at home on Sunday Night Football. Bears versus Rams. The Bears will not contain the Rams offense, and the Rams will win as we head into week 12. Colts versus Texans. Very interesting game, but I think the Texans will win here. Steelers beat the Bengals. Bills beat the Broncos. Browns beat the Dolphins. Raiders beat the Jets. Jaguars and Titans. Jaguars coming off a bye week will beat the Jaguars on Sunday Night Football. Cowboys versus Patriots would be a fun game to watch, but the Patriots come out on top. Ravens versus Rams. Unexpected win for some people probably think it's unexpected. 7-3 Rams, not too much farther behind than compared to the Ravens, but yeah, Rams, Super Bowl contenders and players last year, will beat the Ravens. Giants versus Bears. Giants coming off of their bye week, but it won't help them at all against this Bears defense. Buccaneers will lose to the Falcons. Lions will beat the Redskins. The Saints and Panthers. The Panthers will come out on top this time because I feel like they always play very well in their division, but then they always seem to play a little worse, kind of mediocre outside of it. I don't know if that's what happens, but it's just what I feel like the Panthers do. I don't pay too much attention to places outside of my division, so I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I think about it. Packers versus 49ers. Packers will win coming off the bye week. Seahawks beat the Eagles next week. The Jets beat the Bengals. Chiefs beat the Raiders at home coming off their bye week. Titans versus Colts. Colts win. Chargers beat the Broncos. Browns beat the Steelers. Texans will beat the Patriots on Sunday Night Football because I think they deserve it and that they will fight for it and win. Bills versus Cowboys. Man, Bills aren't going to beat those Cowboys. Never really do. Gotta say. Eagles versus Dolphins. Eagles come out on top. Buccaneers versus Jags. The Jags defense will dominate that game. 49ers versus Ravens. The Ravens will win. Bears versus Lions. Bears win. Saints beat the Falcons. Packers beat the Giants. Panthers beat the Redskins. Rams beat the Cardinals. Seahawks lose to the Vikings, who are coming off of their bye week and are pretty needy of a few wins for dignity. Maybe they want them, maybe they don't. But as of right now, they're still in competition to get a spot in the playoffs as we head to week 14. Also, if you think I'm going through this a little quickly, I'm sorry. It is very, very early in the morning right now. It's currently just past 1 o'clock, almost 2 o'clock now. I'm trying to get this video done. I've been recording for quite some time, and I really want this done because I'm not going to edit. I'm barely going to edit anything out of my videos, so I really need to stop talking now. I'm going to move on. Sorry for anyone who's annoyed by me just not really explaining much, but it's what I have to do. Ravens beat the Bills. Browns win. Dolphins win. Texans win. Chargers win. Patriots will beat the Chiefs once again. Titans beat the Raiders. Colts beat the Buccaneers. Steelers win. Bears win. Panthers win. Packers win. Saints win. Lions win. Rams win. Eagles win. Week 15. Jets versus Ravens. Easy win for the Ravens there. Easy win for the Pats. Easy for the Chiefs. Bills versus Steelers. Close one. Steelers win. Texans versus Titans. Titans will get an unexpected win against top team Texans because it's just what I expect of them. Really. Not much statistics to go by. It's just something I feel like is going to happen. I don't know if I already had them upsetting the Texans earlier this year. I might have. I don't really remember. I don't have like a paper to keep track of my stuff or anything, really. I just have this. Anyway, next game, Jaguars beat the Raiders. Dolphins beat the Giants. Browns beat the Cardinals. Chargers beat the Vikings. Saints beat the Colts. Lions beat the Buccaneers. Bears beat the Packers. Panthers beat the Seahawks. Eagles beat the Redskins. Falcons win. Rams will beat the Cowboys, putting the Eagles on top. Week 16, Ravens will beat the Browns, keep their number one in the AFC spot. Down pat. Raiders versus Chargers. Chargers win. Dolphins versus Bengals. The Dolphins will come out on top. Steelers will beat the Jets. Patriots will beat the Bills again. Lions beat the Broncos. Texans win. Colts will beat the Panthers, putting the Saints on top. Jaguars lose to the Falcons. Saints win. Chiefs. Bears. Defense can't handle this Chiefs offense. Rams versus 49ers. Rams gotta win that one. Giants will beat the Redskins. Cowboys will beat the Eagles and take back that top spot. Seahawks will beat the Cardinals, and the Packers against the Vikings on Monday Night Football will come out on top. Final week of the regular season. Not too many of games. They're all in conference games. Browns beat the Bengals. Bills beat the Jets. Chargers beat the Chiefs. Colts versus Jaguars. The Jaguars will win. Dolphins versus Patriots. Patriots win. Ravens win. Texans win. Raiders, Broncos. The Broncos will come out on top Sunday night. Falcons versus Buccaneers. Falcons come out on top. Cowboys win. Eagles win. Lions beat the Packers. Saints beat the Panthers. The Bears will beat the Vikings. The Cardinals will lose to the Rams. And the 49ers will lose to the Seahawks. Wild card round, baby. Browns versus Chiefs. Man, those Browns are good. They made the playoffs 12-4, which even I, making these predictions, didn't expect. Probably won't do nearly that good. And they're not going to get that far into the playoffs as they lose. Chargers versus Texans. Chargers are pretty good. Texans are pretty good. Chargers come out on top. Lions versus Cowboys. Cowboys and the Lions are going to make it a very interesting game. And I think that the Cowboys will win it. Saints will beat the Panthers heading into the divisional round. Chiefs get a revenge game against the Patriots. Patriots had some rest, and it's enough. They beat the Chiefs once again. Ravens will also win their game. Saints versus Bears. The Bears will not. That's what I have to really think about here. The Saints are doing an amazing job. The Bears, undefeated in their division, will come out on the bottom. Saints are going to the conference championship against the Rams. That's right. Patriots, Ravens, Saints, Rams. Patriots win. Saints win. Super Bowl. Saints versus Patriots. And I think that in this game, thinking on what the rosters are like right now, in my head, I know who has the better chance. And it takes some relief and gives it right to me like a beacon from heaven as the Saints win the Super Bowl. That's right, Saints win the Super Bowl. Here's a quick look at the bracket. I will leave it here for a little bit. Here's the map for the Ravens, who started here and made it here before losing the Patriots. Patriots started here against the Chiefs. Rams started here. Saints came from the third seed over here all the way through to win the Super Bowl. Great season and playoffs. Draft order. A pretty new note here. Got all 32. Very new feature. So here's a quick look at the top 23 of the draft order. Jets, Giants, Redskins, Bengals, 49ers, Cardinals, Vikings, Buccaneers, Broncos. Pretty much everything you'd expect, really, to be a higher pick, except for maybe some of these teams. Bills over here at 14. Pretty much what I expected before I started doing this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like if you want to, if you liked the video. Subscribe if you want some more videos. If you do subscribe, click that bell. If you don't subscribe, then, well, thanks for visiting my channel for one video really quick. If you don't like the video, well, thanks for watching it anyway. I mean, you can really do whatever you want. Won't faze me. So, what I plan to do is upload videos every Monday and every Wednesday. So I will see you guys next week on Monday for another video. Have a nice day. Peace out.